Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. The Saturday Morning Hustle podcast. And today I'm going to actually take you back to a clip from a social media post for the Saturday Morning Hustle podcast exactly 3 years ago. This was when I was doing social media posts, but not recording a podcast because I want to expand on the idea that I only spent a minute on in the video exactly 3 years ago. So the basic idea was momentum, getting out of your comfort zone, and not allowing the first time you do something to determine if you can do it or not. Because I think we all know the first time you do something, you're not good at it. And in this case, I was actually riding my skateboard in the office. And in fact, I'm going to apologize now for the audio quality. You can hear the squeakiness of the trucks on the skateboard. So the message is less than perfect because there is some squeakiness and background noise that comes along with it. But I had an interesting message I thought was really good, all crammed into 1 minute. So I'm going to play the clip now, come back from the clip, and explain each of those items in detail.
The special moving edition of Saturday Morning Hustle today. I'm rolling up and down the hallways at 1219 Creative, trying to get my momentum going. Success comes from change. You got to keep moving forward to create that change. But occasionally you stop, slow down, even go backwards. You can't let less than perfect scenarios define you or slow you down or even stop you. You got to keep moving forward. So get up, get your hustle, get your grind on, get to work, make it happen for yourself. That's all you can do. Remember, you didn't know what you were doing the first time you got on a skateboard, a bicycle, etc. There's no single way to have business success. So you have to get out there, do it, trial and error, same way you learned how to ride a bike, and figure it out. You're going to fall, you're going to slow down. It's all part of the process. Learn from it, move on. Good luck.
So there was the clip from June of 2017 talking about momentum, getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things and not expecting to be perfect the first time out. There's very much a business entrepreneurial correlation between the first time you ride a bike, ride a skateboard, you try to hit a baseball, you try to shoot a basketball, etc. You're just not good from the beginning. You don't have the experience. You don't have the muscle memory. You don't have the teaching of how to do it. So, like I said in the clip, you have to start with gaining some momentum. And of course, the first way you gain momentum is just start. Everything doesn't have to be perfect to start. Okay, so much like, again, the first time you try anything, you're not going to be great at it. So go ahead and try it. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't work super well the first time out, the second time out, as long as you improve, you learn from what didn't work the last time, and you use that to put together a better attempt the second and third and fourth time. If you go into it understanding that the first time you do something, it's probably most likely going to fail, but there is a learning process involved, you can take enough from it that make those small failures worthwhile. So create the momentum by simply just starting. Success comes from change. I know I've said that on this podcast before. I know I've said it on the social media post many times. I truly, truly believe success comes from change, because change is a state of growth. Wherever your business is now, your entrepreneurial pursuit, your career, wherever it is now, but where you want it to end up, there you need to grow into that. You need to develop from the entrepreneur you are today or the business model you are today into the full business that you want it to be. That growth, the ability to go from point A to point B and achieve the success that you're looking for, is an overall change. Now, typically we're talking about adding to, improving, or cutting costs, but we're adding value. We're streamlining the process. We're creating better ways to do business, to connect with our audience, to convert them to actually execute the transaction, to measure the whole process and then make it repeatable. All of those things are change. We're constantly trying to make those better. At the same time, there's all kinds of things in the world. I think right now is a great example with the economy down, the lockdowns from COVID-19, and other things, even a political year every 4 years when we have a presidential election, no matter who's running for president, it affects businesses, stock market, etc. And so that uncertainty has an effect on business. So you always have to be adjusting to these things whether it's minor, like seasonal sales trends, or something major like a coronavirus lockdown. You always have to be capable of changing depending on your audience, the market, and the scenario that you're thrust into. That's how you grow a business. The only way that you continue to grow a business is keep moving forward. It's the same way if you're going to skateboard, ride a bicycle, etc. It gets smoother the faster you go. And in physics, that's inertia. But in business, it's creating momentum and moving forward in a growth pattern with the processes in place in order for you to learn from the things that don't work perfectly or as well as planned or at all, keeps you moving forward. So the concept of moving forward is essential for a business or any entrepreneur who's trying to build something, because without that, any sort of settling into this is okay, this is good enough, then you get into the dreaded, this is how we've always done it. And trust me, anytime anyone says something like that to you, you should automatically red flag that conversation and you should inspect everything they're talking about, because this is how we've always done it is complacency. And complacency is what keeps people from being great. You might have something that starts off well, you've built it, you've put the work in, it's going good. It maybe is getting into great, but it isn't as much as it can be if you stop. So always be pushing to be more, to move forward. If you continually move forward, then you never get into the trap of good enough. Good enough is definitely the enemy of great, for sure. In that process, as you move forward, your journey, as you're developing your business, as you're growing your brand, we talked about the fact that not everything's going to work. You're going to have positives and negatives. You just simply can't let negatives or setbacks stop you. Now, they might slow you down, but you can't let it stop you. And going back to the idea of a bicycle or skateboard, inertia keeps you upright the faster that you're going. Controlling it slow is harder than controlling it fast. But too fast, you get out of control and it's very dangerous. So there needs to be a balance there. But you can't stop immediately. The same way you wouldn't stop in traffic, driving your car, riding a bicycle, motorcycle, etc. You don't throw on the brakes because it throws everything out of balance. You go over the handlebars and now you're hurting. So try to adapt to change as a slow down, potentially even moving sideways a little bit, but not ever stopping or moving backwards. If you can do that, continually moving forward, even if it's slowly, you'll be fine. So keep moving forward at all times. Keep in control of the things you have control of. Understand there are certain things that you have control of and there are certain things you do not have control of. Coronavirus is something you do not have control of. How the government, whether it's local, state, or federal, is restricting your business right now, or the spending habits and the economic input from your audience because they are restricted by COVID-19, or at least uncertain about business future because of COVID-19. All of these things are out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can change or fix about it. You can only adapt to it. So you can control how you react to that scenario. If you said to yourself, well, COVID-19 has killed my business, there you are, and you're out the door, and you are a failure. But if you understand that COVID-19 has affected everyone in your industry, in your market, anyone you might be competing with for that same dollar spend, then you can adapt, change, and continue to move forward in a different way that you're allowed to do within the system, because you control the things you can control. Maybe you lower prices. Maybe you change your hours. Maybe you change your delivery process. Maybe it becomes delivery only. Maybe you have to contact third parties or add new technology to your website or to your communication process in order for people to order online. Maybe that's something that doesn't make you as much money and you wouldn't do it normally, but it's better than making no money because the situation is that much different. So again, continuing to move forward, even if slowly, not stopping suddenly, and controlling what you can control. This is essential. And then finally, the first time you did anything, you were just not good at it. You weren't great at it. No one ever jumped up on a bicycle and rode the Tour de France the same day. No, Tony Hawk wasn't the greatest skateboarder the first day he got on a skateboard. Matt Hoffman was not the greatest BMX bike rider the first day he got on a BMX bike. You understand what I'm saying here? LeBron James, Michael Jordan, you can have that argument. But neither one of them was perfect the first time they picked up a basketball. And you hear lots of stories of great athletes in their prime who got cut from their junior high or high school team because they weren't good when they were young. I think Kobe Bryant is in that same situation. He just continually worked harder and harder and harder. I know Michael Jordan has that story about getting cut from a junior high team, motivating them to work harder and harder and harder. So your first business idea may not work. Your first execution may not work. Your first marketing campaign may not work. If you find them to be learning processes, you'll be fine. You could come at it in an okay position, at least, if not allowing you to make something better coming out of that negative or setback. If you let it defeat you, if you let it stop you suddenly, then that's when you fail. So don't expect to be perfect every time you do something right the first time, but do expect to be in a learning process, a growth and development process, and refining it along the way. So whatever doesn't work as well as possible, you're ready to refine it because you're paying attention to it. You're capable of doing it. If you do that, work through the process, you can end up with a product, service, with a business, with a delivery model, with a conversion, with an economic factor, all of these things that actually work and make sense and will comply to the idea you put together when you built that business to begin with. All of that can happen if you continue to work at it and don't let the first outing set you back to a point that you stop. So keep your momentum going. Success comes from change. Keep moving forward at all times. Do not stop. If you have to slow down, fine, but do not stop. Keep moving forward. Again, control what you can control. And don't get discouraged when something doesn't work the first time out or the second time out or the third time out. Sometimes you get it the third time. Sometimes you get it the 35th time. Sometimes you get it 7 years later. Everyone is different. Every situation is different. But the first time, no one is perfect the first time. That's just how the world works. I hope you get some great value from that today. Appreciate you guys tuning in this Saturday. If it's Saturday, that means I'm in the office. I'm hustling and grinding just like you. I'm on the Saturday Morning Hustle podcast, trying to motivate you, inspire you, and give you a little bit of tactical advice as well. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you next week. We'll see you then on the Saturday Morning Hustle podcast. Have you ever thought about recording your own podcast? Because maybe you should. I bet you have something interesting to say. The best, fastest, and easiest way to record your podcast is the Anchor app. I use it exclusively for the Saturday Morning Hustle podcast, and I'm very happy about it. Lots of features. They're always updating it. They're always paying attention to people using it, and they're even helping you get paid. Consider using the Anchor app for your podcast.